Hello guys. Is it possible that a global star who has everything, fame, fortune, and the love of millions of fans, is still looking for something deeper? The question hung in the air when news of a private conversation between two BTS members, Jungkook and Jimin, leaked from within the military environment. A supposedly ordinary evening turned into a touching, emotional moment. How could simple words from Jungkook be able to make Jimin, who is known to always be cheerful, suddenly silent, and full of emotion? Since starting the draft, Jungkook and Jimin were placed in the same division, allowing them to continue the close friendship they had built over the years. The proximity was, of course, a source of comfort amid the demands of heavy military discipline. Behind their laughter and jokes, however, lies a deeper story, a story of a heart searching for its place in this world. Jungkook's words hung in the air like the strains of an unfinished melody. Jimin looked at her with an attentive look and gently encouraged her to continue. "I want someone who can understand me completely," Jungkook continued. "Not just BTS's Jungkook, but the real Jungkook. Someone who can see all my flaws and still love me." Those words hit Jimin like a wave that suddenly came without warning. In an instant, he felt his chest tightness. Jungkook, known to the world as a confident and unshakable man, turns out to have such human fears and doubts. "I know I have a lot of fans who love me, but is there someone out there who loves me as Jungkook, not as an idol?" The atmosphere in the barracks became quiet. Jimin felt his heart heavy hearing the confession. He knows how hard it is for Jungkook to open up like this. Jungkook talks not only about love, but also about identity, acceptance, and a yearning to be understood. "Hyung," said Jungkook, breaking the silence, "I'm afraid I'll never find it. What if I'm too busy with work, too late in this abnormal life, that I miss the opportunity to love someone?" Jimin felt tears almost filling his eyes, but he held back. He wants to remain a strong listener for Jungkook. However, it was hard for him not to feel emotional. As someone who has lived a similar life, Jimin knows exactly how Jungkook feels. He knew what it was like to be on top of the world, but still felt something was missing. "Jungkook," Jimin said finally, his voice hoarse. "You know, I felt that way too. I also once wondered if I would ever find someone who loved me for who I really was. But I believe if we stay true to ourselves, the right person will come along in time." Jungkook nodded slowly, but it was clear that his mind was still full of doubts. "I just hope I'm not too late, Hyung," he said. "I don't want to regret being too busy chasing dreams to forget the things that really matter." Hearing that, Jimin could no longer hold back his emotions. He was silent, and tears slowly rolled down his cheeks. Jungkook was surprised to see his best friend crying. "Hyung, I didn't mean to make you sad," he said, his voice full of regret. But Jimin shook his head. "That's not it, Kook. I just find it hard to watch you carry this burden alone." That night was an unforgettable moment for both of them. Amid the silence of the barracks, the two friends reinforce each other, share their feelings, and remind each other that although they are shining stars in the eyes of the world, they are still human beings who have a need for love, understanding, and acceptance. This story is a reminder to all of us that even people who seem to have everything are still looking for something so basic and universal: true love. The question now is, will Jungkook find what he's looking for? Or will he continue to live with the doubts that haunt him? Only time will tell, but one thing is certain: he will not go through this journey alone. Jimin will always be there for her, as her best friend, brother, and loyal supporter. After that deep conversation, the atmosphere in the barracks became a little lighter, but there was a feeling that could not be ignored between them. Jimin, who is usually the comforter in every situation, feels a new responsibility. How can he help Jungkook find peace with his own feelings? The next day, the military routine went on as usual. They both underwent physical exercises and other tasks with great zeal. However, there were small moments where Jimin would steal glances at Jungkook, making sure that his best friend was okay. At times, he saw Jungkook daydreaming, his gaze gazing far into the sky, as if searching for answers that could not be found on Earth. That night, when everyone was asleep, Jimin decided to continue the conversation that had been interrupted. He approached Jungkook, who was sitting in a corner, with a small book in his hand. "What are you writing, Kook?" Jimin asked while sitting next to him. Jungkook smiled slightly and handed the book to Jimin. "It." Jimin reads words filled with emotion, about the fear of losing time, about the longing to find someone he can trust, and about a simple dream that feels so far away. Each sentence is a reflection of Jungkook's innermost heart. "I started writing this since we came here," Jungkook said. "It helps me understand how I really feel." Jimin read a few more pages before finally closing the book carefully. "You know," he said, "writing like this is a big step, Kook. You're trying to understand yourself, and that's amazing." Jungkook smiled, but then he said, "Hyung, I'm just afraid I'm not good enough for someone. What if I can't be the partner they need? What if I let them down?" Jimin felt his heart heavy again hearing that. He knew that Jungkook, despite all his confidence on stage, was someone who cared deeply about how he was seen by those closest to him. "Kook," she said softly, "nobody's perfect. Even you, with all your talent and kindness, are an ordinary human being. But that's what makes you special. The right person will love you for it, not in spite of it." Jimin's words seemed to give Jungkook some comfort, but the big question remained hanging in the air. Does someone like that really exist for Jungkook? In silence, Jimin began to think about how he could help Jungkook find the answer to that question. The following days, Jimin tried to bring more joy to their daily lives. He takes Jungkook for a joke, enlivens the atmosphere with funny stories, and even makes plans to eat together after they finish their military service. "You have to keep hoping, Kook," Jimin said one day. "Life is too short to be spent in doubt." However, there was one moment that surprised Jimin. One night, after dinner, Jungkook suddenly said, "Hyung, I think I know what I'm looking for." Jimin was silent, waiting for further explanation. "I'm not looking for someone perfect. I just want someone who is willing to fight with me through all the difficulties and happiness." Jimin felt his eyes begin to glaze over. "That's the most beautiful thing I've ever heard, Kook," he said. "And I'm sure you'll find it." Jungkook smiled a little, but then he said, "But Hyung, what about you? Did you find what you were looking for?" The question hit Jimin hard. He realizes that, although he is trying hard to help Jungkook, he himself may still be looking for the answer to the same question. That night, for the first time in a long time, they both shared stories of their dreams, their fears, and their hopes. Under a calm night sky, the two friends reinforce each other, reminding each other that although the world may not always understand them, they at least have each other. That moment is a beautiful reminder that no matter how difficult life is, having someone who listens and understands us is an invaluable gift. And for Jungkook and Jimin, their friendship is the foundation on which they stand when the world feels too heavy. Of course, Jungkook's journey to find his true love is still long, but one thing is certain: he won't do it alone. With Jimin by her side, she knew that she had someone who would always support her, no matter what. And maybe, just maybe, somewhere out there, someone is waiting for him too.